Butterbeer! It's buttered beer time. Harry Potter! I don't know why I'm doing that. Welcome to I'll Eat Your History, where I watch historical food recreation videos and then I try to make it. And let me tell you, it does not often go well. So we're going to see how today goes. Today, we're watching Buttered Beer, just like in Harry Potter. As a reminder, if you haven't watched the previous videos, I am going back in time to watch Tasting History's first videos, and then I'm watching them, I'm reacting to them, I'm cooking them, and all sorts of fun ensues. So, I'm very excited. We're going to see what wildness happens in this little episode. I haven't watched it, so watch along and let's see what we get up to.
History. I'm your host, Max Miller, and today in Los Angeles, it's a little chilly.
Oh,
it's a little overcast.
It's a little chilly in
very
LA.
odd, but it's fortuitous because it is the perfect weather to make one of Tudor England's favorite alehouse brews, hot buttered beer.
Oh,
kind of sounded Australian. It was meant to sound English.
Don't do that.
But there it is, hot buttered beer.
Okay.
Today on Tasting History.
What is? Okay. We'll come back to this video.
Now, I'm sure most of you have read or seen Harry Potter, so of course
Yes.
you know Butterbeer. But this is not J.K. Rowling's Butterbeer. Though I do love that J.K. Rowling goes to historic references for so many things in the Harry Potter books, Butterbeer being one of them. But that Butterbeer was drank by a bunch of 11 and 12-year-olds, so probably not highly alcoholic.
Probably not.
Maybe a little bit, because it is England, but, you know.
Yeah.
In the stuff that you get at Harry Potter World,
in England they
really
roll. Those
nothing
kids
like
roll
this
deep.
recipe. The recipe we're using today comes from Thomas Dawson's 1594 book,
Okay.
The Good Housewife's Handmaid for the Kitchen, which reads, take 3 pints of beer, put 5 yolks of eggs to it, strain them together.
Okay, so what's happening here? What's happening with this little wench? She's making her butter and she's like, I'm working on my butter, and they're just gonna throw it into some beer because they're friggin' alcoholics that want to have a heart attack. And that's what I'm getting up to.
Strain meant mix back then, but anyway. And set it in a pewter pot to the fire, and put to it 1/2 pound of sugar, 1 penny worth of nutmegs beaten, 1 penny worth of cloves beaten, and 1/2 penny worth of ginger.
You get your penny's worth out of this.
And when it is all in, take another pewter pot and brew them together, and set it to the fire again.
Brew it.
And when it is ready to boil, take it from the fire and put a dish of sweet butter into it, and brew them together out of 1 pot.
Now I do wonder, because I didn't watch this before, but I read the recipe. And I know that there's butter in this beer. But I do wonder, like, who did this? Who did this? Like, who was like, I'm drinking something. Let's put some butter in it. Like, did they try that with like other things? Did they do that with wine? Like, let's put some butter in some wine. See how that goes. You got some whiskey? Put some butter in it. Actually, it doesn't sound bad. But I don't know. I just think it's hilarious. I think maybe this is like a past life of Julia Childs. And this is where she got her butter obsession from. Because she was that little wench. She was that little wench. This is Julia Child right here. This is Julia Child. You can tell. It totally is. And she's like, butter makes everything better. Even beer.
Into another. Now, the thing about most medieval and Renaissance recipes is we have to guess at a lot of this stuff because they weren't terribly specific.
But
this recipe is awesome because with the exception of exactly how much clove or ginger or nutmeg you got for a penny, we can basically recreate it exactly as it would have been done in Tudor times.
It's like it's a little like, whee!
So let's get started. What you'll need is 3 pints, which is about 1,500 milliliters or 48 ounces.
Let's talk about that for a second. Look at that dark ale. In his recipe, he's like, so I had to get the ingredients ahead of time. He's like, get some British ale. So I was like, great. I went into my fancy grocery store. Bring me your best British ale. I was so ready to do that. I scoured it all for British ale. There's no British ale. I saw Guinness, which makes me wonder, did he get Guinness? Is this like flat Guinness? But there was no British ale. And I thought, well, gosh, if my fancy little grocery store doesn't have it, who does? So I used my resources. I called upon the wonderful gentleman who worked in the beer and wine section, Liam. Liam, if you're watching, if you found this episode, shout out to you. He did a little bit of research. He found out that for butterbeer, you actually want to use a light beer so that it doesn't overwhelm the flavor. So this dark ale here is not what Liam recommended, nor did Mr. Google recommend it. So we ended up going with Stella, though they also recommended Heineken, but oddly they didn't have Heineken. They only had non-alcoholic Heineken. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, I got some Stella. I actually have little Stella cups too. So Stella Artois, you could sponsor this video. You could send me some money because I'm shouting you out, Stella. Shouting you out. So, but we'll see if I shout you out once I put some butter in it with some penny pinches of spices. Anyway, so I wonder if little Max actually used British ale. If he's going to tell us right now that it was not easy to get British ale, or if he's going to keep that on the DL. Maybe in LA, they're just like running wild with British ale. I don't know.
Of good quality British ale. A quarter teaspoon of ginger, a half teaspoon of cloves.
He just moves right on over it.
And
gets on into his spices.
Of Demerara natural brown sugar. Now you can use just regular dark brown sugar if you can't find Demerara, because finding Demerara sugar is not so easy in the US. Then
actually, I was able to find Demerara sugar at the grocery store. No problem. It was sitting up there on the shelf, but not British ale. Okay. I've had enough about that. I feel like I've said my piece. I feel like I've my pain that I've gone through. Leo knows my pain. Okay, let's keep on going with these egg yolks.
5 egg yolks and 1 stick of unsalted butter.
Unsalted.
First, take your 5 egg yolks and beat them with the sugar until light and frothy.
Actually, then doesn't look bad. I'd put that in my mouth.
Into a saucepan. Now the recipe calls for a pewter pot, but who has that? I want one, but I don't have one yet.
Oh, Max.
Christmas list.
I bet you have one now.
So I'm just going to use a deep saucepan.
4 years ago.
It needs to be fairly big for the amount of beer that we're putting in there, but you can also
what is that? What is that? Did you see what that was? Was that British ale? I'm obsessed. I bet it wasn't British ale. I wonder. I don't know. It doesn't look like it was British ale. I have a real issue here. I have feelings.
You can also use a stock pot or a Dutch oven. Anything works just as long as it can go on top of the stove.
Okay.
So pour the ale.
No, that's a green label. The last one was a yellow label. That is Sierra Nevada. That is not British ale.
Cloves and the nutmeg.
Calling you out, Max. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's beer.
And heat over medium heat until the mixture comes to a light boil.
I was trying so hard to be authentic.
Then turn it down and simmer on low for about 2 minutes.
Look at that.
Now, if you do want to make this for kids, if they're having a Harry Potter party or something like that, you can heat the beer up to 285 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 140 degrees.
Oh, by the way, I did read in the comments something about, I don't know, I didn't get it, but they're like, maybe this isn't enough to heat off the alcohol. And so I don't necessarily trust this. But you know what? Children in my life, maybe Auntie Jillian is going to give you a full experience of butterbeer. Don't you worry about it. No, not really. I'm not going to do that. But I mean,
Celsius,
Harry Potter could
boil
do it
for 20 minutes. You'll burn off almost all of the alcohol, at which point you can serve it to children. It'd be like a rum cake. But if you're serving this to adults, don't do that. 2 minutes is more than enough. You want to keep that alcohol in there.
We want to keep the alcohol in there.
2 minutes, remove the pot from the heat and add in your egg and sugar mixture.
It's kind of delicious and disgusting at the same time.
Then return the pot to low heat until the liquid starts to thicken. Now this takes about 5 to 7 minutes. If you don't really see it thickening, that's okay. It's not going to actually thicken that much. Don't turn it up, because if you turn it up to medium heat, you can actually scramble the eggs, or you can burn the sugar, and then you've just wasted.
Which I will probably do all of that. I will probably have scrambled egg beer. The way the last couple of episodes went, anything is possible. I am sure I will screw this up somehow. Okay. Let's go on, Max. How else am I going to screw this one up?
3 pints of good ale. So
Yeah, I don't want
So once you've simmered it on low for 5 to 7 minutes,
put that butter in
stir
there.
in the diced butter until it melts.
Butter it up.
Then froth the butter beer with a hand whisk.
Froth the butter.
Then, still on low, let it simmer for another 10 minutes. Now while that's simmering, you really got nothing else to do, so go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and listen to me chat you up about beer. I don't know why that keeps coming out as Australian. I really want to do English.
Why are you
anyway,
doing accents?
Beer.
I'm trying to stay away from accents. Oh, it's history time! That's my favorite
beer,
part.
Or ale, porter, lager, all of it was drank by pretty much everyone in...
Okay, let's look at these guys here. What's happening back here? I think this is my favorite part, is the pictures. He's doing good. He probably is like wearing some tighty whities. It's fine. He's got his Stein on. He's got a good little deck of cards. These two are collaborating against this guy. They all hate him. But this guy back here with his gigantic like vase of beer, of buttered beer, passed out. He's out. He does not care about the card game.
England every day. And by some accounts, the country was essentially a giant frat house.
Little...
There was a big...
What has happened? Is this like a Puritan orgy? I feel like this is like a Puritan orgy because look at their little outfits. And he's showing a little bit of leg, that little slut. Oh my goodness. But yeah, they put too much butter in their beer, I tell you what.
Big problem with binge drinking.
They sure did.
Elizabeth I even issued a ban on double beer, which had an extremely high alcohol content.
Oh.
Now don't get me wrong, she was no teetotaler, because in 1593, her own household went through 600,000 gallons of beer.
Well, wouldn't you?
It's good to be the queen.
Well,
now you're probably starting to wonder,
wasn't...
why does this drink exist? Who thought it was a good idea to put spices and butter and eggs into beer?
Thank you.
And I'll tell you. It's because beer was so important to the diet back then that it was extremely well regulated by the government. There was actually an official post.
The government even was getting up in your business back in the day. I don't have any problems with government regulation, but I felt like that was a really good moment to get passionate about it.
Of ale taster or ale conner.
Ale taster.
So if you owned a tavern and you had a cask of ale that was starting to smell a little funky, throw some nutmeg in there, some cloves, heat it up, put an egg in it.
Dirty.
Now it tastes great. But you couldn't do that to every cask of ale. Most people wanted just regular ale, and that's why they had the ale conner. The ale conner would go from tavern to test the quality of whatever beer that was being sold. If you deemed it unworthy, you got a fine. Or maybe a day in the stocks and had the ale poured over your head.
What is happening here? Oh gosh, I'm excited again. You know what happens. We got to go back. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, first of all, his head looks like it's been taken off its body, or it's the wrong size for its body. And then this guy over here, and then this little kid who's just poking him with a stick. Kids poking people with sticks, even back in the day.
The stocks and had the ale poured over your head. Or in some extreme circumstances, you would actually be dunked into the river, which, because a lot of people didn't swim back then, could mean death.
Yeah, that looks like a witch thing.
Make good ale. Now, while it's called the ale taster, there are anecdotes, and they might just be anecdotes, of ale conners wearing leather breeches. They would go to the different ale houses, pour the ale out onto a wooden bench, and then sit in it. After a while, once the ale dried,
they would pour the beer and then sit in it, like they've peed their pants. Okay.
Would stand up, and if their breeches stuck to the seat, then that meant there was too much sugar in the beer. They would be fined. Now again,
that sounds weird. Honey, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out to work today. I'm going to go out and I'm going to pour some beer on some benches, and then I'm just going to sit my butt down there. I'm going to sit on this bench, and then after a little while, after I've chatted up the local flora and fauna, I'm going to get up and I'm going to see if that bench doesn't stick with me. That's what I'm out to do today. And if not, I'll just stand up and have a little wet backside. And this doesn't sound like a great scientific test. feel like they could have figured out other scientific tests. This is early science.
And that might just be an anecdote, old wives' tale.
Okay, well,
there's no way to tell, because according to most contemporary accounts and to the official ale taster's oath, the best way to taste the ale was to taste the ale.
Of course.
And speaking of tasting,
tasters,
our ale should be just about done. So after your 10 minutes of simmering is done, remove the saucepan from the heat and allow the butterbeer to cool to a warm but drinkable temperature.
Okay.
Then whisk it up again.
I don't know how excited I am about drinking warm beer, but maybe the butter and the spices will make it better? It just seems weird to me.
Or, if you want to follow the exact recipe, you whisk it by transferring it from one cup to another very quickly. But I don't have a scullery maid on hand to clean up all the cups, so I'm just going to use a whisk.
Because if I do that, I will be spilling it all over my bum and my bench, and I will be picking my chair up with my backside because it's stuck to me. I'm sure of it. I don't think that'd go over well.
Pour the butterbeer into a glass
with a ladle.
And serve warm.
Got a old-fashioned ladle.
Hot buttered beer.
Don't do it. But he's got a nice little glass he's drinking out of. He's experiencing.
It's actually really good. It's really good. It's quite nice.
Oh, he
really
likes
nice.
It. That
I
gives
don't even
me
know how to
hope.
explain it. It's like creamy beer.
Creamy beer.
With spices.
Okay.
But it's really, really good. Now, if it's a hot day and you don't really feel like a warm beer, you can have it chilled, and which is actually really nice. You can take 1 part milk and 1 part the cold beer, mix them together, delicious. Now, the recipe and the ingredients are all in the description down below, so while I sit here
Not in my down below, it's in his down below. So I'm going to be putting the link to his video in my down below. And my down below, you can find Max. And then you can go to his site and like it and subscribe it and support him. And then you can also get the recipe. So here's the ketchup with Max thing. Again, it's okay, because we saw this on the previous one. It's not actual ketchup. Now I feel really silly. It's not actual ketchup on buttered beer. It's like a different channel that he catches up on things. Okay, so I need to not make a stink about the ketchup anymore. Oh, look at this dessert over here. Is that coming up in our future? Okay, keep on going. Sorry.
Drink 3 pints of butterbeer all by myself. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and if you make your own butterbeer, leave me a comment and tell me how it went. And as always, join me next time on Tasting History.
Okay, so that is that. Now, we'll see what mess and disaster I create in the kitchen as I try to make this, what seems to be a very simple recipe, but if we've learned anything, I can screw it up. All right, so we are ready to get going on our buttered beer. Okay, so the first step is to froth up our eggs and to mix it in with that demerara sugar. In go the eggs. Boop. We have our sugar. It's a lot of sugar. Now we are whisking until it's light and frothy. However, looking at the amount of sugar to egg yolk, I don't know about this. I don't think this is gonna get light and frothy. Suspicious. Suspicious once again, Max. I gotta get into this. It's so sugary, I can hear it. Well, it looks more like what he made. I don't know. Is this frothy? Are you frothy? Are you frothy, little one? Oh, I'm kind of excited about this, actually. About putting a whole bunch of sugar in beer. Smells delicious. Okay, I'm going to say you're frothy. Congratulations. I crown you frothy. Now we're putting the ale, as we mentioned, Stella's, who's not sponsoring this video, but could send me some free beer. I'd drink it. I'd make some delicious butterbeer. I'd drink more butterbeer with it, maybe. This is the saucepan I have. I have a suspicion this is too small. I hope it all fits in here. I'm kind of terrified about how this is gonna go, but that's how I roll around here. You know that. I make things up and I pay the price. So now we're stirring, not stirring, we're pouring this into the saucepan. It smells like beer in here. Okay, that's 3. No, that's only 2. Again, I should be able to count. This is 3. medium heat, and then adding in the spices. Spoon time. Oh, it's frothing now. Oh, well, don't froth. I don't have a space in the pot. You calm down with your froth. I picked the wrong size pan. I know it. And I just thought I'd live on the edge. It's just the head. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still kerfuffled from the cheesecake experience. It took me a while to recover from that. It was traumatic. It was delicious, but it was traumatic. And I needed to heal before I did another one of these videos. So I did heal. I healed enough to drink beer with sugar and butter in it. That's how much I healed. Bringing it to a boil and then simmering it for 2 minutes. Okay, boil. Boil, boil, boil. With your little spicy beer. You can do it, you can do it. Bubble it up, bubble it up, bubble it up. And there's a little bit of frothiness happening. It gives me hope. A little bit of frothy hope. I need this to boil because I can smell it all over my kitchen, this spicy little beer, and I want to put it in my mouth, but I have to wait until it boils like a cauldron. Like a cauldron. It's from the last episode. Okay, I'm impatient. This has taken like 20 minutes, and I feel like maybe medium heat is not the heat it boils on. So I'm just going to crank it up because F it. I can't be here all night. Go on medium high. Maybe this is because I didn't get quality British ale. Maybe quality British ale would have boiled. Look at that little frothy head thing happening. Yes, yes. See, it just needed a little bit more heat. Oh, it's going to explode now. Okay, now you got to calm down. No, 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 no. You simmer down. That was a exciting little volcano thing. I don't know if it would have gotten to boil if I hadn't have turned it up, but it's boiling now, baby. It's boiling now. Okay, I am done with that. That took way too long, so I'm ready to move on. It smells good though. It smells kind of like glug or glog, that wine that has spices in it from like Scandinavia. No butter that I know of. Okay, now we're going to be putting the mixture, the frothy mixture, into there. We're going to see what explosions happen. You know what this makes me think of? This makes me think of what the candy was made from in Squid Game. That candy that they had to lick and lick and lick and lick and lick. That looks like it's made of this stuff, but without the beer, of course. I'm going to get out my medieval spoon. That's what I should have done all along. I'm going to stir this in. It's my little brew that I'm brewing. I'm brewing some butterbeer. Sorry. I apologize for that. Okay, now it's going to go back on the stove. I don't know why I'm so sing-songy today. I haven't even had any alcohol yet. Okay, so I'm supposed to stir until it starts to thicken. I don't have confidence in that. What does thicken mean anyway? Should I feel it? I don't, but it's got sugar in it. The sugar that's going to make me stick to the bench. I'm going to say it's thick. I'm going to say it's thick because I've been waiting long enough. What did we learn from the cheesecake episode? That you should not be impatient. This is a long time to put butter in beer. It shouldn't be this complicated. It should be like heat the beer up, put some spices in it, put some sugar in it, put some butter in it, then drink it. Then just drink that shit. Okay, it's time for the butter to go in. Ah! I don't know why this scares me so much. I did remember to cut it up at least. I almost forgot. My big old stick of butter. Oh, it's getting frothy in there. So I've now got to wait until it's melted. I have to wait some more. I should rename my channel The Impatient Cook. It's all melted. And then it said to froth it up again. So frothing is going to happen. Froth up, little baby boy. I mean, it was frothy. Is that frothy enough for you? Is it? It's frothy enough for me. Now I got to wait some more. I don't know why I have to wait and why I can't just put it in my mouth. That's what the recipe says. So here's the deal. I'm supposed to wait for another 5 more minutes for this beer to like simmer on the stove. And I'm kind of over it. I don't really know what the point of that is, other than it said something in the recipe about going back to the fire. And I mean, that day they were in pewter pots. Maybe that had something to do with it. And the fire was inconsistent, and maybe the place was cold. I don't know. But I feel like not anything special or magical is going to happen. It's got beer, and it's got melted butter, and it's got sugar. And I'm sure the sugar is dissolved by now. And I really don't want to wait anymore. I'm over it. I'm done. So I'm just gonna pour it into the cup and see if I can drink it. Well, I'll wait until it's like drinkable, but I'm kind of done with this. And I know I'm supposed to froth it up again before I drink it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna drink it because I'm tired. Maybe I'm hangry. Maybe I'm hangry. I'm hungry. Maybe I'm impatient. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna buck the trends. Just gonna go wild and cut it off 3 minutes early. I got a whisk. This is not a whisk. I do have a whisk, so it's not like I was lying about that. This is a ladle. I was inspired to get a ladle because that's what Max got. He got a ladle to ladle up the stuff. And I've got my Stella Artois glass, but I don't know why I have these. I got them for free for some reason. I have waited, I hope, long enough so that this doesn't burn my mouth. It's still hot. So here it is. It looks like a little milkshake, a little beer shake. It smells like spicy beer. It smells like spicy beer. So I'm going to sip this and see what I think, if this was worth it. And I will tell you, if you are making this, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a good hour to make all of this. You think it's a simple recipe? Chaos did not happen, which was good, but it still took too friggin' long. But I had to cut some minutes out here and there because I couldn't wait anymore. But so here's the big moment. It is actually good. The butter aftertaste is not doing well with me. That's a little weird. I'm drinking this. Do not get me wrong. I will drink all of this. But the butter, I don't know. So that's Jillian with I'll Eat Your History. What is coming up next week is a dessert for Lent made with rice flour. And I'm going to try to make my own rice flour. So that will be an interesting experience. If you are curious as to what hot mess I got up to last week, go and check out the medieval cheesecake recipe. It gets more exciting and dramatic as the episode goes on. Here's to more buttery excitement coming your way. I'll see you next time.